Joanne Luther, Finance Director, and I did mean to look that up, but I did not have a chance. I did not look how many years it's been. It's been over 5. It was when we first started the fire assessment fees. We had a study, then calculated, they went to investigate all the ad valorem accounts because the council then had a choice to make. Do you want to put the fire fees on the utility bill, or do you want to put them on the tax bill, as in, you know, what the county does with their assessment? The council chose to put them on the utility bill. There are some advantages, some disadvantages, but that's what they chose. The proposal that the study brought forward to the council was we assessed your properties and we recommend this rate if you want to fund your fire fee services at 25% of the cost. Do this rate if you want to assess it at 50% this rate or 75% this rate. And the council chose the 25% rate. So that's what, and I had kind of looked back at the cost of the fire department, and they have not changed greatly in the past year, but now properties could have changed a bit, so it's hard to say. But we should do another study, and I did add it into this draft work budget. So it is as a line item in the administrative department to fund the ability to do a study, should that be decided upon.
And then on the, you said, I think you quoted me, I believe it was at 4 cents a square foot is what currently.
That's the current commercial fee. When Sid was kind of looking at what fees the county were assessing for a commercial account, he particularly looked like at Walmart, and they're paying $17,000. I applied their square footage to our rate, and we would assess them about $6,000. So that just goes to reflect the difference, but it doesn't really mean, I don't know what percentage they're trying to cover. And they have to leave out, you have to leave out the first response emergency, you know, which they make those calls, and a lot of their costs are associated. So you have to leave that part out, but I don't know how their fee, you know, was accepted at what level. But that is the difference in what ours are.
I think he and I, without going into any details, but he and I had an offline conversation too, where I think mentioned the same thing. There's another business that's inside the city limits that we weren't sure that was even assessed yet. So it was like, it just kind of makes sense to me that if we can put that, if we can get that new study done, then we may have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And one of the options could be where you, and this is just a blind number, but instead of going from 4 cents to 5 cents, and then would that entail be able to help the residents, where we could come off of some of their fees with just I mean, you're talking.
It can be a discussion with the company that does
that.
I don't know if there are guidelines necessarily that they follow, or if we can set those. So.
But in your estimation, it is time for.
Yes, I do think that we should.
And I hate to put you on the spot. Do you have the amount that you budgeted for?
You know what? When I look back, it looked like it was between 20 and 30,000, but I'm thinking it's going to be over 50 because of life, you know. Yeah.
And all right. Okay. All right. I think that's. You got any more questions? Anybody have any questions about the assessment rates for now? Study. So the next section I was going to talk about is ISO ratings and then some other information, just kind of variable stuff. I feel like last time, I would be honest, I was very taken aback by the amount of individuals that came to me before this even got, before the last agenda item ever got put on the agenda. And I'm like, well, how do you even know about this topic? Because I've not shared it but with 2 or 3 people. And then I talked with Mr. Gill, I don't think in the 15 years that you've been here, that a workshop has ever been 4-to-1 a Stonewall, and not even to really just consider the facts and to get some fact gatherings and whether you're for it or not. And I think there was a misconception also that I was single-handedly trying to be the arm, the long reach for the county, like a double agent, if you will. And I can put all those rumors to bed. None of that is true, but I feel like without having the workshop, that there's some things that I want to make clear for the record, and that's what I'm about to do right now. I've had individuals, matter of fact, a very high-ranking individual, come to me, high-ranking in the law enforcement community, come to me while I'm with a friend eating lunch and basically tell me, let me give you a little piece of friendly advice, don't F-U-C-K with the fire department. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Well, they pay for themselves. Well, quite contradictory. It doesn't necessarily mean they pay for themselves. Yes, there are fire assessments, there are commercial assessments. I'm hoping that when we get these new assessment studies that it's going to increase some of that, but it doesn't necessarily pay for itself. So I'm hoping that this public record, that this individual who I will not name, will hear that and take that however he wants to take it. The ISO rating, while it is awesome, I think we're up to a 2, is that correct? 3. 2, 3, 2. Okay. It's put out there, and it was very, very, it became personal to me because I felt like I got personally attacked by a lot of individuals who will remain nameless as well. But the ISO rating is not quite as important insurance-wise as what some people, fearmongers, may lead you to believe. I talked with, and I'll quote his name, he told me you can call him, his name is Bruce Tillman, he runs the Centria Insurance. He spoke with 8 other agents in the city and the surrounding area. And of the 8 agents, only one person said that if the ISO rating went from a 3 to a 4 or 3 to a 5, it may change the annual amount of insurance charged to a business, not residential at all, by $75, and that was State Farm Insurance, would go up $75. Quite in fact, if you're on a sliding scale of a 1 through 6, as long as you're in that 1 through 6, it's one category commercially. And residential, they stated, and you can call him because he has the facts, his name's Bruce Tillman at Centria Insurance Agency here in Live Oak, said that residentially it does not play at all anymore. So while it is awesome, it's something for our fire department to work towards, I don't think that it's the biggest, incident out there that would affect insurance and try to be like a scare tactic, so to speak. Also, going back to how do I want to say this? Well, I just say this. There seemed to be a concerted effort and by individuals that fairly or unfairly tried to nip something in the bud that never really was. It was never my intent to usurp our fire department. It was simply one of those outside the box looking, try to find some money somewhere. Had nothing to do with being a usurper of our fire department, so I want that to be completely on the record. So this information that Chief Hayes brought to us just a little while ago is incredible, really. We talked about grants in the budget workshop, and this is this is grant money that is not just talked about. It came to fruition, and they have $620,266 approved funds, which is excellent. So I just kind of wanted to clear the air on some misconceptions out there that I felt like some people took personally. Anything that I do and that I do up here is not for me. It's not for Matt Campbell. It is not. It's for the people of Live Oak. And so if it's a question pondered by them, if it's an option, then I feel obligated to bring those options to the table. Okay, so I'll just leave that at that. And if anybody else wants to have any discussion concerning any of this stuff that was spoken of here tonight, just on this item D, then we can discuss it further. But I just want to make sure that my position was understood clearly. None? All right, perfect. All right, we're going to start with item 6 for City Manager. I am going to mention something that makes a lot of sense, and I think I talked about this before, and you guys have literally just started, and it probably wasn't fair for you guys to even consider it, because I know how I was when I got started, and I didn't really know even what I was doing back then, to be honest. So, and we talked about some of this in the CRA board, but a lot of these items that Mr. Sessions is about to discuss could very easily go on what's called the consent agenda, meaning that it's basically understood that we don't have to sit and talk about each and every one of these things every single time. I'll let Mr. Sessions explain a little more about that. If you've been to one of the county commissioner meetings, if you've noticed, they have a plethora of items that are, I don't want to say not important, because everything's important, but they're more clerical, administrative in nature. It's more of a, has to be done kind of thing, but I'll let you explain that procedurally. That's a better word, yes, sir.
And there are a lot of things that we bring up with George, especially when he's discussing certain things that are on like the second reading or just informational. That's a procedural thing that has to be brought up in a meeting. Could go on the consent agenda that could all be voted, for at one time. It's a possibility. Every other board I've ever been on does that. This is about the only board I've ever been on that discusses every single item, which I'm not saying they should be, but there are some things that if you've read your packets and looked at the information, it would be a no-brainer on some of these that you would understand should be on a on a consent agenda.
Right.
So, but before I get into my part this evening, I want to announce a couple things. We've lost a lot of people here lately. We discussed Mr. Udell just now. Ms. Smith lost her husband a couple of weeks ago. We also lost Donnell Gwynn, a big person in the farming community. To me, a legend in farming with IFAS. And just we're losing a lot of people that really mean a lot to our community, and we all need to think about their family and our prayers. All right, get started. The possible council action resolution 25-29.
Resolution number 2025-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Live Oak, Florida, delegating authority to the development manager to approve and accept subdivision plats on behalf of the city, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
So this is one of those procedural things that goes through George's office, that he understands the plats, he looks at the setbacks, he looks at all the things we're supposed to look at for right-of-ways and things like that. I'll let George continue on.
Thank you. George Pierce, Development Manager. So, Florida statutes has a chapter specific to subdivision platting that has always been the primary standard to meet whenever somebody's doing subdivision. Local governments, in many cases, also have a secondary or supplemental procedure for subdivision plats. And what the state legislature did this past session was enacted a new law that amended the state subdivision regulations, and it preempts all elected officials from being the governing authority to vote on whether a plat is approved or not, statewide. So the law says that the governing authority now has to appoint somebody that's at a staff level to do that job, to review plats to make sure they meet the statutory requirements and the zoning parameters that are required as far as the minimum lot size and the lot width and the square footage and the street frontage and all the things that we look at when somebody's looking at subdividing property. So according to the new statute, this resolution basically would name my position as the appointed authority according to the statute to review and basically sign off on plats before they go to the courthouse.
Question. Now, is this going to require more money to be paid to you in a different position?
No, sir.
Okay.
Because I would already be in my capacity doing that job to make a recommendation to the council whether it met the requirements or not. You know, in the past, whenever I brought a plat to you, it was after we went through all the reviews at a staff level so that we could bring you something that we could recommend for.
So now you're saying that Florida statutes require municipalities to do that, to have this?
Florida statutes now require you to name somebody at a staff level to do that job. And you as a body will no longer be voting on any subdivisions until the legislature decides to do something different, if they ever did. So basically, just for an example, say you have a piece of property and it's agricultural and they want to change it to residential, and they pick a residential single-family number 2 district. Well, that district requires lots to be 20,000 square feet or greater in area, and like 100 feet wide or 80 feet wide in width, and all the parameters that are in the zoning. So once the zoning is approved for a piece of property, that already spells out how it can be platted. And so you've already kind of pre-approved the concept of subdivisions by approving a zoning change. And so now, rather than, I think what has happened maybe in the state is that the process has been bogged down because the state's growing so fast and they want to build houses and they want to grow the state. And so now the legislature has basically said, we don't want somebody to go through a 4 to 6 month process to get a plat approved. We want to get it in 30 days or, whatever. I mean, the statute says that within 7 days that we have to issue a letter that says that we've received it, and to give them a time frame of our in-house review process of how long it will take before it's signed off on, or if we have comments and we need revisions done. So, and generally we do our reviews within 30 days of receipt for any kind of development plans. So it's standard business for us, but this is necessary to get on the record to meet the requirements. And Attorney Kennedy, if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, this is a new bill. It is effective July 1 of this year. Looking a little bit behind the scenes that I can find, it is exactly what Mr. Curtis said. It's to speed up the process of development. It is very clear. This isn't do you want to give a department head this authority or not? It says 177.071 sub 1A, a plat or replat submitted under this part must be administratively approved, and no further action or approval by the governing body of a county or municipality is required if the plat meets the requirements of certain other statutes, and requires this council to designate that person or that administrative department and or position to make these approvals. So it's not a discretionary, it's a mandatory.
It also takes a lot of the human element out of it too for commissioners and council people that have certain real estate interest and whatever political interest too. And that's probably a large portion of it.
Sure.
It makes sense.
Can I make a couple comments?
Sure.
So it also takes it away from the local body. And the states, and I'm surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's not challenged. I know our attorney could speak to that. I would be surprised if the Florida League of Cities or Florida League of Mayors or county, because, and I'm not sure, what is the mechanism for this body to, let's say, or even the county commission, let's say somebody wanted to build 1,000 units, and the people said, we don't want 1,000 units, and this council said, we don't want 1,000 units, or whatever the number.
That would be under your land use and zoning change process.
Okay,
The
so
consideration by the council would be to determine that at the zoning level,
Right.
to be aware that if you approve a zoning change, you're opening this property up for the possibility of X number of units of certain size and dimensions. But
Right.
there's also some authority out there that says that under the home rule powers, and I don't know that this is really solid ground, there's some situations under the homeroom powers where the council has designated an administrative person to make these findings and approvals without coming to the council. That to me is on much shakier ground, but in this event, you know, like I say, it may be challenged, it may not, but as of July 1, we're required to do it.
Nothing personal,
No,
but,
sir.
yeah, but so the mechanism would be then for the council through the zoning process to,
Decide the future of a property, basically. That's where those decisions are made. And what I'll do is I'll start putting, and we generally do this anyway, but I will include in my staff reports for all the land use and zoning changes, basically how many housing units could go on the property now, and then how many could be built under the new land use or zoning. And that way you'll have a comparison right there on your report, so.
And that's gonna be position specific, so when you retire, the next person, that's gonna, unless the law.
Right, and it says or designee, I think, the resolution, if I'm not mistaken.
Sir?
The resolution, it says development manager or designee, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have the option of ordinance or resolution. I chose resolution because if there are changes within that department 2 or 3, 4 years from now, and you wanted a different department to do it based on personnel, you just draft another resolution to modify the designated approver of plans.
Right.
So this doesn't require the quasi-judicial,
No.
we're just gonna vote on it or something. All right, so you've heard from staff. Now, somebody make a motion.
motion to approve resolution 2025-29.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. All right, resolution 2025-29 is approved.
Resolution 2025-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Live Oak, Florida, declaring certain personal property owned by the city to be either surplus to its needs and sold at a publicly noticed sale, or determined to be obsolete, non-serviceable, or beyond economic repair and appropriately discarded, providing for the authorization to remove such surplus property when sold or disposed of from the fixed assets of the city, and providing for an effective date.
Pleasure of the council.
Make a motion for resolution 2025-30.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? This is about the police car, correct?
Surplus, yeah.